Hello, hello, hello. I am the Linux Mensch. Today, this is my bare metal computer with Arch Linux running the i3 window manager with my updated configuration file. So today, I'm going to show you how I got there. So, let's get to it. Right now, I'm in a virtual machine of Arch Linux with the awesome window manager. And I'm just going to do a little recap. So what you want to do is open up your terminal, okay? And you want to do sudo pacman s i3 d menu and nitrogen for your wallpaper or some other wallpaper application that you use like Fey or something else. I think it's Fey or something else. Okay, and I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to put my password in. And this is what it's going to install. It's going to install 4 i3 things that you need: i3 WM, i3 blocks, i3 lock, and i3 status. Okay, as well as Dmenu and nitrogen. So I'm going to hit enter. So now I'm going to say no because they're already installed. I mean, you can see up here it's going to reinstall them. So if you install it, you're getting Dmenu, i3 window manager, i3 blocks, i3 lock, i3 status, and nitrogen. Proceed with installation. I'm going to say no. Now what I'm going to do is, let's clear the screen. I have LightDM installed as my display manager or my login manager, but I'm just going to go in through the TTY. So what I'm going to do is vim xinit.rc file, and I'm going to comment out awesome or deactivate it, right? And then I am going to type in i3. Now, if you're running a display manager or a login manager like LightDM or SDDM or GDM or whatever display manager you happen to be running, you don't have to do this. It's automatically going to go in there. You won't have to do anything special for it. Okay? So now I'm going to save the file. So I have light i3 in there because I'm just going to log in through the TTY. Okay? Now I'm going to quit out of Awesome. I'm just doing a short recap. Let's quit out of there. Let's clear the screen. And let's type in startx. So I apologize for the small font. The first time you log into i3, it's going to give you this option. You want to go into default, or do you want to generate a configuration file? I am going to generate a configuration file, so I'm going to hit enter. Now it's asking if you want your mod key to be the Windows key or the Alt key, and you can use your arrows to go up and down. And I'm going to make it the Windows key. I'm going to fix the resolution. So sorry about the white blinding. I'm just going to type in xrandr -s-1360 by 768. I think that's it. Okay, that's better. And I'm going to close this. Oh, that's better. Okay. And if you're doing this on bare metal, you won't have to set the resolution, but because this is a virtual machine, you have to. So this is the default. Black screen, one workspace. Your status bar is at the bottom, and you have on the far right, you have your internet connection, your clock, your date, and some other information. And it's small font. Now, if you open Dmenu, it would be mod key D. And you see that's at the top, and that's small too. So if we type in Firefox, hit enter, we're going to get into Firefox. Okay. Now let's close it. And let's say we open up, let's do that again. Let's do Dmenu. I'm just doing a quick review. Firefox. Now let's open up Workspace 2. So I'm going to do mod 2. I'm opening up another workspace. And I'm going to do PCman FM. Okay. So now I have Workspace 1 is Firefox. Workspace 2 is PCman FM. If I shut PCman FM, Workspace 2 will stay there as long as I'm on it, but as soon as I go to Workspace 1, it's going to disappear. Okay? And by default, i3 comes with 10 workspaces, but they're always hidden or not visible until you open up the workspace and open up an app on it. As soon as you close an app and go back to Workspace 1, the other workspaces disappear. Now, another thing is, I didn't like, well, first of all, I don't like the font for the status bar or the top bar. And I didn't like all this information being down here. I don't need it. And I didn't like the format of the date and the clock. So I changed all that. And now I'm going to show you what it looks like when I left off in my last video. Now, this is what i3 looked like when I completed my last video on it. And as you can see, the font is a lot larger. I got rid of all the status stuff on the bottom. I have a volume control here with the slider. Here's my internet. The clock is changed from 24-hour to AM, PM. The format of the data is changed, and everything's a lot larger, and I have wallpaper. And I changed some of the key bindings to be like the way I have my key bindings in the Awesome Window Manager, in the Qtile Window Manager, and in DWM Window Manager. But I didn't create any key bindings for opening apps or anything like that. Oh, and also, when I left off the last video, I also made Dmenu larger as well. And also, I changed the key binding for Dmenu because by default, the key binding was mod key D, which kind of makes sense. But I changed it to mod key P because that's the way I open up my run launchers and all my other window managers. Okay, so mod key P, I changed to mod key P and see how larger the font is for Dmenu as well as the bottom status bar. So like I said, I didn't make any key bindings to open up apps or do anything else. I just changed some of the general key bindings to be like they are in my other window managers. Let's do an HTOP. So it's running at 270 megabytes of RAM. As in all my virtual machines, I gave it 4 processors, 4 gigs of RAM, and no swap. And we've already opened up Firefox and closed it. And it's only using 270 megabytes of RAM. So i3 is a low resource window manager. Well, probably about the same as the other ones, maybe a little lower. So I'm going to show you something here in this virtual machine because I can't show you in my real bare metal computer. Because if I do, my OBS Studio recording will be shut off. So by default, when you quit out of here, and I changed the command for quitting, but when you quit out of here, you get this. It's safety. So if you want to quit, you're going to hit that. If you don't want to quit, oh, I don't want to leave, you can stay in, right? And that takes you out. Now let's go back in. And it's going to take you out to the TTY or to your display manager or login manager, whichever one you're logging in with. And none of my other window managers had that, and I didn't like it. So in my bare metal computer, I turned it off. Now, I didn't turn it off in the last video I made because I learned afterwards how to turn it off, but this is what I did. And in my Zesh configuration file, I made an alias to make it quick and easy to get into the i3 configuration file. I'm going to type in i3 config. So line 166 is the thing that brings up the warning before you log out. And I didn't like it because I never used it before. So in my bare metal computer, what I did was I commented this out to deactivate it. I went down and I just created some spacing. You don't have to create the spacing. And I typed in find sim $mod plus shift plus Q. And just so you know, in the default one, it's not mod shift Q. I think it was mod shift E for exit. But I changed the command to be the same as my command that I have in all my other window managers for exiting. And I typed in exit and I saved it. I quit out of there. I closed this and I changed the key binding for resetting your window manager as well to be the same as my other window managers. So now let's exit. Let's see what happens. See, now we exit right out. Let's go back in. So after I installed i3 on my main production computer, my bare metal computer, I set it that way because that's the way I'm used to logging out. And I was recording a video and I accidentally hit those key bindings because I was doing something, trying to show you something in the video, and it logged me out to the TTY, and my OBS Studio shut off. So then I decided that safety thing for logging out, maybe it's a good thing and maybe I should use it. So I went back into my bare metal computer and I went into i3 config. And I left this line here just in case I want to use it again. I commented it out and I deleted the hashtag for the long thing here. This whole command, I reactivated it. I saved the file. I closed it. I restarted my window manager. And now if I go to log out, I get the safety. You want to log out? Yes. Or, oh, I don't want to log out. Exit. So now I'm using that on my main computer. I put it back in. I reactivated it to save me, especially when I'm recording or when I'm doing something else. And actually, to tell you the truth, when I've been using the Awesome Window Manager or DWM Window Manager or the Qtile Window Manager, there's been a few times when I've been doing something important and I accidentally logged out. So this is good. I like it. So now I'm going to go to my bare metal computer and show you the other changes I've made since making my last video, because I have put key bindings in and I put things in the configuration file for my second monitor because I have two monitors. So now I'm going to shut down this virtual machine and do the rest of the video from my bare metal computer. So don't go away because I'll be back. So now I'm in my real bare metal computer, the production computer, the computer I'm doing my recording in. And as a matter of fact, I have OBS Studio running in. So you can see I have, of course, I have wallpaper. I have the status bars on the top. I have all my favorite key bindings in for opening up my apps. So let's open up PCman FM. Okay, now if I go to quit, look at that. I got this warning. I took it out and then I put it back in. Okay. And let's close PCman FM. So let's say I want to open up Firefox. I'm going to do mod key F because that's the mod key I always use. And look at this. It opens up on its own workspace named Firefox. Look at this. So click it on. So now I have Firefox opening on workspace 2 : Firefox. So I know it's Firefox. Now let's say I open up workspace 1 and I open up PCman FM. So I don't have PCman FM titled. So I have Firefox is on workspace 2. PCman FM is on workspace 1. Now if I close Firefox, so if I go to workspace 1, that workspace will disappear. Okay. There's two configuration files for i3. And I'm going to take a look at the easy one first. So there's a configuration file called i3 status. So I have an alias in my Zedge configuration file for getting into there. So I'm going to do i3 status config like that, and it takes me into it. So in the configuration file for status, so line 11, the default is interval equals 5. And that was there by default. And what that means is that the seconds on the clock only change every 5 seconds. And I thought that was kind of weird and I didn't like it. So I changed that interval to 1, which means the seconds change every second, the way seconds should be changing. All that stuff that was in the status bar, that information, that system information that was in the status bar, I commented everything out. I don't like to delete the lines in case I like to go back to using them. So I commented them out. The only one I left uncommented was line 21, because that keeps the clock up there, the clock and the time up there, okay? And the other thing I changed in this file was line 52 and line 53. To change the format of the date and clock, I commented out line 52 and I typed in manually line 53. So that changed the date and the clock, the format of it to the way I like it. Okay, now let's get out of there. That's the only thing I changed in this file. And this is the i3 status configuration file. So let's get out of there. Now, the main i3 configuration file, I also have an alias in my -rc, and that's i3 config. Okay, let's get in, and now we're in. Let's go to the top. Okay, so what did I change here? Line 16, I changed the font to monospace bold 12. So that changed the font in the status bar to be larger and bold. Then let's go down to Dmenu. And Dmenu, I don't need to put my cursor there. So line 84, I changed the Dmenu font to, and I don't know how to pronounce that. Is it Firacode-16 at the end of line 84? Changed the font for Dmenu. So when I open up Dmenu, and remember, I changed Dmenu to be mod key P, the same as my other window managers. And actually, you might want it to stay in default because the default was mod key D for opening up Dmenu, which makes sense, D, right? But I like a P because that's the way my muscle memory is. So mod key P opens up Dmenu. See how nice the font is? Easy to read. Now, while we're here, line 77 is mod+return to open up the terminal. And after the exe, it had, I can't remember what it had. It had some default system terminal. I don't remember what the command was. But what the word at the end meant was that when I did mod enter, it wouldn't open up my terminal. It wouldn't open up xterm or st. So in my virtual machine, I don't have st installed. So I changed it at the end of line 78. I changed it to xterm. When I do mod enter, it opens up xterm. In my main machine, I have st installed. So I changed it to st. So when I do mod enter, it opens st. Line 81 is, it says it's to kill a focused window. I don't know why they call it that. It's to shut down an app. I think in the default, it was mod key shift Q to shut down an app. And I changed it to mod key C because that's the way all my window managers are. So I mean, I changed all the commands to be the way my window managers are. So starting at line 37, and this part I did in my last video, line 37, when I log into i3, it's going to automatically start imwheel, which just makes my mouse wheel work faster. Numlock, which turns on my side keypad. It's going to set my power manager, and it's going to set nitrogen. Now I deactivated line 42 because I don't need xrender to set the resolution in my bare metal computer. It's only for my virtual machines. And I deactivated volume icon because I have my volume icon set in my XNRC file to turn on. And then I put all these key bindings in starting at line 44. So these key bindings starting at line 44 were not in my last video or in my virtual machine. So to start Firefox, I always do mod key F. So that's the command. To open PCman FM, I always, in my other window managers, I do mod key control P, opens up PCman FM. So line 45, there's the command. Now, when you're doing a double command, you have to know that if you're going to do mod key control letter to open up a app, or mod key plus shift plus letter to open up an app, the word control or the word shift has to have a capital at the beginning. Okay, so if you notice, control has a capital C. I don't have any in there with the mod key plus shift, but if I did, then it would have to be mod key plus shift with the S being capitalized. Okay, so you can see I have a command for opening up PCman FM, OBS, Gnome Calculator, GIMP, Kdenlive, VertManager, Ramina. Ramina is an app I use to remote into other systems. Gnome Weather, Gnome Clocks, LibreOffice, Thunderbird, and i3 Lock. i3 Lock is a lock system to lock your screen that comes by default with i3 Window Manager. And to turn it on, I made mod plus L. Now, if you look at line 56, it looks like mod plus 1, but it's not. It's a 1 plus L. Now I'm going to lock the screen, and I can do that without shutting my recording or anything. I'm going to do mod L. And now the screen is locked. Now if I put a false password in, let's see what happens. Let's hit enter. Wrong. I like that. Now I'm going to put the correct one in. There you go. So that's that. Now let's go down. I set workspace 7 to always be called GIMP. But it doesn't mean GIMP is going to automatically open up. So if I make a workspace 7, let's do mod key 7. Mod key 7 is called GIMP, but GIMP doesn't open up on it. Now let's go back to 1. And the same thing with VertManager. So if you open up mod 8, so workspace 8 is always going to be called VertManager. And the reason why I did that is that I couldn't figure out a key that would automatically open GIMP or VertManager on a workspace. And I had the same problem in my awesome window manager setup. So I don't know if there's something about GIMP and VertManager, or if there's something that I don't know how to do. But in my awesome window manager, I had certain apps opening up on particular workspaces automatically, and I couldn't get GIMP and VertManager to do it. So when I open up workspace 7, if I want to open up GIMP, I'll just open up mod key 7, and then I'll open up GIMP. Just so if I have a lot of workspaces open, because you can have 10 workspaces, actually you can have more than 10 workspaces. So I can have, know that, when I'm on 1, I know, oh yeah, GIMP is on 7, okay? And I did the same thing for VertManager. So if I open up mod key 8 would be to open up that one. And then I can open up VertManager. And there you are, we're on VertManager, okay? So you can see if I go to workspace 1, I know VertManager is opened up there, okay? Let's go back to workspace 1. See how the workspaces disappear when you're not using them? Now, if you're going to add more workspaces, you're going to have to put it in these 3 paragraphs. You're going to put it up here, put it there, and put it there, and it's just going to follow along, okay? But 10 workspaces is more than enough for me. Now, line 277, I put in there because when I opened up Gnome Calculator, it was opening up to the whole screen, and it looked really stupid. So I put that in there. My fast key for opening up Gnome Calculator is mod key C. So let's open it. Okay, and I can move it around. Looks nice. Okay, and I can close it. So that's what line 217 does. So line 221 is always going to open up Firefox on workspace 2. Let's try it. Now my key binding for opening up Firefox is mod F. And there's Firefox. Okay. So if I go to 1, I see, oh, I got Firefox open on workspace 2. Let's close it. Go back to 1. That workspace hides itself. Now, I have 2 monitors. Firefox is going to, right now, the way it's set, Firefox is going to open up on workspace 2 with the title Firefox on whatever my monitor, my mouse, or my cursor happens to be on. But if I wanted Firefox to always open up on my primary monitor, then I would uncomment this line like that, okay? But I want Firefox to be able to open up on either monitor, and I want the workspace to be called Firefox. So I deactivated line 223, but I left it there in case I want to use it down the road. So if you don't know what your monitors are labeled, and if you have two monitors, you probably do, you could do xrandr list monitors. So you see I have two monitors. 0 is my VGA1 is my primary monitor, and DP1 is my secondary monitor. So let's close that, and let's go back here. So I always use OBS on my secondary monitor, and I do that for when I'm making videos because I'm doing all the work on my main video, and I want to be able to turn over there and see if OBS is working properly. I want to be able to pause it and restart it and so forth. Line 225, 226, and 227 is going to make sure that OBS always opens up on a workspace that's labeled OBS, and it's always going to open up on my secondary monitor. And the same with Thunderbird. Thunderbird is my email app that I use, and it's always going to open up on Workspace 5, and it's always going to open up on my secondary monitor. Kdenlive is always going to open up on Workspace 6. It's going to be labeled Kdenlive, but it's going to open up on whatever monitor my cursor happens to be. So if I do mod 5 and my cursor is on my secondary monitor, it's going to open up there. If my cursor is on my primary monitor and I do mod 5, it's going to open up here. Okay? Oops, let's go down. Now the theme colors I copied. And they're the only thing I copied. So the theme color I'm running right now on my main machine is from line 243 to 250. And I copied it from Matt at the Linux Cast. I copied it from his GitLab repository because I couldn't figure out how to do the colors. And I like it. And I also copied line 255 to 265. I copied Derek from DistroTube. I copied his colors from his GitLab repository, but I didn't like them as much. I liked Matt's better. So I left them in. Even though I'm not using Derek's colors, I left it in. And those are the only things that I copied for this configuration file. Everything I figured out how to do on my own. I did a little bit of research in Google. Okay, so I'm not that smart. At the bottom, line 275 wasn't in there. I put that in. And I had to do a little research to find it. So what was happening is that the date and the clock in the status bar were showing up on both monitors, but the volume control was showing up on my secondary monitor only. Wasn't showing up on my primary monitor. And I like to have the volume app on my primary monitor. So I programmed that in tray_output space primary. As you can see in line 275, that makes sure the volume control or any app that's in the status bar that only shows up on one monitor, it's always going to show up on my primary monitor. Line 276 puts the status bar on top. So for instance, if I put a comment there, comment it out, let's save it. Let's do Control Mod R. So now you see the status bar is on the bottom. Now if I take that out, resave the file, restart it, now the status bar is back on the top. And of course, line 275 and 276 are not in the default one. So if you're building your system from a default one, you're going to have to type in those commands. So when you're making your key bindings, now when I was in the awesome window manager, if I made a key binding that had a conflict or I made a key binding that had an error, when I restarted the window manager, it would automatically take me to the default configuration file. It would load the default configuration file. And when I was playing around a few years ago, when I was learning how to use the Awesome Window Manager and I was changing the configuration file and building my own configuration file, it drove me crazy. Because when you make an error of it, I restart it, it reloads the default. This one doesn't do that, and I really like it. So I'm going to show you. So I have Firefox, and that's not where I want to be. So you can see on line 44, I have mod key plus F opens Firefox. But by default, there's already a mod key F that does something. Mod, let's just do, I'm doing a search for it. Mod F, let's go next. The line 122, by default, mod key plus F is full screen toggle. And I never use full screen toggle, but that's not the point. So let's just save the file. That's there by default. So when I made mod key plus F to open up Firefox, I saved the file and I restarted, you get this error message. And I like this because, like I said, in Awesome, it would reload the default. You're back in default. All your key bindings are gone, and then you forget how to maneuver around, and your fonts are all gone, your wallpaper's gone, everything is gone. You're bang right back into the beginning default file. This, I think, is a lot better. It gives you a warning, and you're wondering what's going on. You can click on Show Errors. Now, I apologize for the bright white screen. I hope it's not blinding you. And also for the small font. And I don't know if you're going to be able to read that when you're watching the video, but you can see. I'll read it for you. It's going to say right here in the very second line. There you go. It's going to tell you the key sum F is a command for full screen toggle. So I'm making mod plus F to open up Firefox. So now your options are, you have a couple of options. Number one, you can change the key binding to open up Firefox to be something else rather than mod key plus F. Or you could find this command for full screen toggle and delete the command or deactivate it. And if you want to find it, well, let's close it. Let's find it. So it's mod plus F. All I'm going to do is close this. And I'm going to do a search for mod plus F. And it takes me right there. And I go, oh. So if I don't want to make a different type of key binding to open up Firefox, because I like mod plus F, then I can delete this line 122, or deactivate it. And I recommend deactivating it, not deleting it, because maybe you might want to go back and use full screen toggle. Well, I deactivated it because I don't use full screen toggle. I never do. So I just do did that wrong. There we go. Put the hashtag there, or the number sign, and deactivated it. Let's write the file, and let's reload i3. And there we go. Now I don't get the error message. And another thing I did was, if you look at line 130, it's mod control space to change between floating, to toggle between floating and full screen. And that command was there, but it was a different command, and I don't remember what the default was. It was mod, might have been mod shift space, I don't remember. But anyways, I changed it to mod control space because that's the way it is in my other window managers, or the way I made it in my other window managers. So let's try it. Let's see what happens. So it's mod control space here, okay? And do it again, mod control space, back to full screen. I'm going to clear the screen. Now I want to CD into the folder, my Mensch folder that's uploaded to my GitLab repository. I'm going to ls it, and I'm going to CD into Arch, because I put these files up there for you to download. Let's ls it. So now I'm in my Mensch Arch folder that's in my GitLab repository for you to download. And what you're going to do is, you're going to want to copy these two folders. Well, you can't really see them. Highlighting them doesn't work that good. So what you want to do is you want to download this i3 folder and this i3 status folder into your home.config directory. Let's just open up another terminal. So you're going to want to you want to copy those two folders into your home folder .config. And you're going to want to copy them and put them into there. And if you don't want to copy them in the terminal, you could copy them in PCManFM or whatever file manager you happen to be using. I want to open up my i3. Let's cd into i3. cd into i3. So remember now, we're going to look at the config that's uploaded to my GitLab repository for you to download and use. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time in it, okay? So like vim, well, let's just ls it. Let's vim config. And when you open it, it's going to be at the top. I'm just going to go down to my apps. So, I mean, all my apps are there. If you don't have those apps, you can change these. You can delete them. You can deactivate them. You can do whatever you want if you're going to use my file. And at the bottom, I have position top deactivated by default for you because maybe you like the status bar at the bottom. So of course, if you want it to be at the top, just take the number sign or the hashtag out of line 276. And I also have line 275, tray output primary deactivated because maybe you only have one monitor. And I left Matt from the Linux cast, I left his color scheme in there activated, and I left Derek from DistroTube, his color scheme in there deactivated. So you can use those if you want. And I just want to thank Matt from the Linux cast and Derek from DistroTube for sharing their configuration files with everybody. But the only thing I used from them was the color schemes. And also in these ones, where I'm assigning Firefox to Workspace 2, OBS to Workspace 9, to open up on my secondary monitor, Thunderbird to be on Workspace 5, that opens up to on my secondary monitor, and Kdenlive to open up on either monitor on Workspace 6. I left those deactivated because maybe you don't want them. But I left them in there in case you want to use them or in case you want to modify them for your particular situation. And of course, in line 78, I probably shouldn't have left ST in there. I should change that, right? So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. And I'm talking about the one for you to download if you decide to use mine. A lot of people aren't using the terminal ST. I don't know if I should leave that there or not. But if you can't open up a terminal because my configuration file, it's mod enter, is going to open up the ST terminal. What you probably want to do is, and whatever terminal you're using, you're going to type it in here in line 78. At the end of line 78, you're going to type in whether it's Xterm, Gnome terminal, Alacrity, or whatever terminal you're using. You're going to type it in there and you're going to save the file and then restart your window manager. And then mod key enter is going to open up your favorite terminal. And I'm not sure if I should leave that in there by default. I don't know. There was something else in there by default, and I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't working for me. So maybe I'll change that by default. Let's cd into i3 status. ls it. Let's vim into config. And of course, if you want all this stuff to be in your status bar, from line 14 to line 20, reactivate the lines, delete the hashtag. Like I said, in my GitLab repository, I have the folder i3 and i3 status for you to download and use. And that's it. In this video, I showed how to download and install i3 Window Manager, and I showed you what the default looks like, and I did some recap from my last video, and I showed you all the changes that I made to the configuration file in my last video, and all the changes I made to the configuration file since my last video, and I showed you what the end result is of the i3 window manager on my real bare metal computer, my main production computer, and I'm also using this in one of my other bare metal computers. And I just have to say that I think the i3 window manager is a fantastic window manager, and I really like it. And I'm going to give it the thumbs up. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I am the Linux Mensch.